All right, welcome to Spoiler Corner. How does it feel to be the shorter one now? I was gonna bring another chair, but okay, I could be sitting like this, but that would look really silly.
That'd be awesome.
I'm just like trying to go like this the whole time, but okay. So there's two twists in this ending. One I like, one I'm kind of the one I think is that the person she falls in love with and is the prince looking after the place. Turns out it's all a diabolical scheme. He's really a jerk. He just wants the kingdom because he's not going to get his own kingdom. And he betrays her, and it leads to kind of the misunderstanding and the bit where the guy has to, whatever, the love interest.
Not really the misunderstanding.
No, well, okay, hold on. The love interest doesn't go into the place when he drops her off, which is strange. It's only so he can have a conversation with himself to head back, which those bore the hell out of me, but it's short. So he walks away, it's like, oh, she'll just have to do without me, and then sort of has a fake conversation with the moose, and comes riding back.
Reindeer,
excuse me. But that is true.
The fans would be on top of you.
I'm a zoologist. I should. I was offended as a zoologist. People are offended by anything. They really are. And it leads to this climax. The climax, for the most part, I thought was not that interesting. That's where I'm sort of like, because we had a cool thing with the snow monster earlier, and in the snow castle, I'm like, couldn't we do something like that again? Couldn't the monster come back? I mean, it's kind of unfair that he dies.
There was a lot of flimsy pretext to get everybody in the right position to make that work out just right, and it really wasn't cleverly written.
Yeah, like, it's for just, everything else being so well handled.
Obviously they need, and I didn't know exactly where it was going. I've not read the original fairy tale it's supposedly based on, and from what I've been told by every review and everybody on the planet, apparently neither did Disney, because they changed 1,000 things. So
yeah, I mean, it
doesn't matter to me. That's classic Disney. But watching it, I was just like, I don't know where exactly this story's going, but I know it's very obvious they want all of these characters on this frozen lake.
Yeah.
And it's painful the way they were just getting them there for reasons.
Yeah, and the way it's so... Everything else is so visually interesting, and this climax, you're just looking at white snow go by and fog, and it's just not that interesting. But the other twist that I thought was so friggin' ingenious is that Anna is dying. The sister accidentally sends the cold thing again into her heart. Again, that's the part that comes back, so why they had to be separated, which is clever. Again, they really show it there. And the act of true love is going to warm the heart a bit. It's the only way to save it. So they even keep saying, well, we had to give her to the prince so that they can kiss, like love's true kiss.
The prince is a D-bag.
Yeah, so he's a D-bag. So then, well, obviously it's got to be the blonde guy, the guy we've been with.
They got me there. I actually thought that's where they were going.
And I was saying to myself, but wouldn't that go against what they're saying with knowing each other for only a few days and stuff like that? Or after one day, like, wouldn't this not work? And sure enough, they have it where the sister sees the queen. She's about to get killed by the bad guy, and she goes in there and stops the sword from coming down. That freezes her. That quote-unquote kills her.
It's a great image.
It is a wonderful image.
Okay, that was really solid. Yeah, everything you needed to get to that point was weird.
Yeah,
but...
and that is the act of love because she loves her sister. And then she melts and lives happily ever after.
And then it gets all sappy, but,
No, but that's Disney. That's fine. But it was... So, it really made you think it was going to go in this one direction that would have really gone against pretty much everything they were building up, but instead goes to this other one. And again, it shows the connection between the sisters and the love they have for each other, and it's just so well done. And what happens with the princess character and the blonde guy, they're a couple, but they're getting married. They
don't have their first kiss till the very end.
Yeah,
actually.
I mean, so it is. Well, so is Snow White, but
yeah, but that was creepy. She was asleep.
So you got this thing going on where they're just gonna start their own relationship and go see where it goes, and it's just. Man, is that hard to balance out while still being a Disney product and still being entertaining and just so well done.
And I'm really up in the air because on the one hand, I actually didn't like making the other prince a complete douchebag. Like, he just flips on a dime. And, like, I thought, actually, if they were going to be mature about it, I thought maybe he would end up maybe going with the Ice Queen, or just abdicate power and be like, I've done my... But, of course, it's like, no, we need to make him a douchebag. So I don't really like that, but at the same time, I'm just like, then how would you have gotten to the point that we did like with, you know, him trying to take her out? And
yeah, I'm not saying it's an easy fix because, like I said, by God, I'm impressed they got as much as they did.
And it's the same issue I have with a lot of Disney films where we're gonna be like all feminist about this, and oh, these girls will be real characters and they'll kick ass, and yet she's still like completely, I mean, he's like, oh, well, your sister's dead, and she's like, no, and sits there and just waits to get stabbed, and I'm like, well, what happened to the ass-kicking characters? Then again, I was like, then you still couldn't have gotten to that scene, so I'm like, unwinnable situation.
But, okay, if her sister's dead, though, I mean, that would still, like, you know, really take a lot out of the character.
I know, again, it just always amuses me how it's just like, we've got these two ass-kicking female characters, and in the end, it gets down to, well, we've got to have the couple dudes come in to move the plot along. And
but they are not saving the day. In fact, honestly, I love it when, and somebody just exploded, sorry.
Somebody set up a fire.
You're in a dangerous neighborhood. Okay, but...
my realtor lied to me. I guess you do have a point. Actually,
well, the other thing I was going to say is that, you know, the queen goes off and abandons everybody, leaves Winter, and the princess says, no, this is my problem, I'll go and get her. You, prince, you stay behind, look after the place, I got my horse, I'm going to ride off. She's fixing all the problems. Like, she's riding off and doing everything.
Okay, it's funny you bring that up, because that was the one thing that I sat there and I laughed, and I didn't even know he was going to be a villain yet, but I'm just like, did I not turn to you? And I'm just like, when she takes off, I'm just like, yes, great plan. Let's have this random foreigner.
No, but that makes sense because of how, again, and they set up why she will randomly fall in love with this person too, because she's isolated from people. So obviously the feeling she's having makes sense. But that's the reason she left him behind as well. It's not a smart choice. But it makes sense, because we're in love. Well, of course you're the only one I trust.
No, it makes sense from a character perspective, but it's incredibly stupid. It doesn't make sense logically.
No, but of course, but that's part of the fun of it.
I was just laughing. I was like, how? I was like, is there no... Is this not a constitutional monarchy? Is there no third person in charge? Because I'm like, oh, crap, okay, well, the Queen's an ice sorceress, okay, well, I is the next in line acting future monarch, and now abdicate the throne to go out, unguarded, by the way, to find her in the middle of this blizzard. You, random foreigner I just fell in love with yesterday,
but that
you now are running the show.
But I think that's the character, though, is that she would do that, and...
But nobody around her is like, Your Majesty, you can't just abdicate to random princes from foreign...
But that's Disney. How come she doesn't freeze to death when all the snow falls on her and she falls in the water?
I guess my only point is my suspension of disbelief goes pretty far, but at that one point, like, I seriously was just like, hey, wait a second.
That didn't buy. I mean, to me, that's the Disney stuff. You know, that's just a little thing. It's like, just kingdom.
I know
you're in charge. You're in charge.
I know it's nitpicky. I guess my only point is, like, I don't let nitpicky things bother me unless I have a flash in the middle of the movie, like, wait, because if that happens, it does take me out of it for a second. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
I'm fine because I feel it through the character and what they know and their motivation and stuff, it made sense.
Well, they needed him to be the villain to do this or that. I would have thought it much more amusing if he just instigated a coup. But
So, yeah, and like I said, with the climax, it's not all that it's bad or that the twists and turns are bad. It's just not as great as the other stuff. Like I said, the third act is good, where everything else I feel is great. So
the high point is really that song in the middle where the
No Good Deed Goes Unpunished song.
Yeah, the song from Wicked, basically. Yeah, and it's just... I can only describe it as like, and I love saying this about a family film, it's the fuck this shit song. Yeah. Like, she literally just is wandering around using her snow powers, and it's just one grand song version of fuck this shit, I'm gonna do what I want. Like, that was the highlight of the movie, and it's not that the rest isn't good, but it's like, that was like the top point, and the rest, it kind of just like plateaus or dips and goes back up and down, but yeah, that moment was so strong. And I honestly think the moment where the sister comes in to try to talk her out of it, that was really strong too. But yeah, that third act, it's like, it leads to such a great moment, but the pretext to get there is so flimsy.
It is one of those where it's like, when the whole movie, I was just engulfed, enjoying all of it, and when that point when it hit the point where he's the bad guy and there's a coup and the other guy has to be convinced to go back, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, how long is this movie? It's starting to, But, like I said, when the sister saves the other sister, that's what really felt, okay, this, like you said, it's like, okay, we need to do this to get here, got it. I wish it could have been a little better, but I don't know.
Again, I am torn, because on the one hand, both sisters end up in an incredible position of weakness for something where they were really setting...
But that's any character. Any character has to go through a weakness. I mean, I don't think it's because they're women, it's like, oh, well, we had to do this. Especially because the guys do not save the day.
I wasn't finished.
And she has the choice between which one... I'm sorry.
I wasn't finished.
Sorry.
But it leads to the point where both sisters basically end up becoming the central focus. I mean, the prince himself, he just ends up being some dude with a sword. I mean, it really ceases to be about the two guys there and about the two sisters again. So yeah, I'm kind of torn. Like, I'm like, okay, we delved back into a lot of cliche, but it ended up to a really good point. It's actually kind of like Korra, now that I think about how we're going in circles to get to a point we really like. So yeah, I'm really torn. What drives me nuts is you didn't have to be so cliche about it getting there, because that scene where he pretty much is like, and he snuffs out the fire and he's like, and now I'm going to take over the kingdom. And she's like, you'll never get away with this.
I already have. Yeah, I'm like, really? You had so many good lines in this? That's the line you threw in there?
The second she said, you're never going to get away with this, I did like a head smack. And then when he said, you already have, I was just like... I was like, seriously?
Yeah, so...
I'm like, rule of thumb, by the way, movie villains, don't say you've already gotten away with something until the person you're trying to screw is already dead. If they're still alive, you haven't gotten away with it.
Well, let's be honest, this guy's plan doesn't make a whole lot of sense either. Why the hell would he keep the Ice Queen alive? Why the hell would they keep her alive? He could just kill her right there. It's like, why'd he bring her back?
But that's what bothers me. It was so cliched. He's like, I'm gonna leave you to slowly freeze to death.
It was doing so well juggling the other cliche, or keeping those cliches away and sort of creating something.
And that is so old school, like, guy with the twirling his mustache, tie the girl to the railroad tracks, sort of Disney. That's what's bothering, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, it really went into that old damsel in distress cliche. Now it dug itself out of it. So I'm torn, because I was like, this is really obnoxiously bad sitting through this, but it dug itself out of it in a pretty good way that I'm like, I feel there was a stronger way to get where they wanted to get.
Yeah, there must have been, but... I mean, we're writers. We know about deadlines. We know the stuff that happens and everything. And
it wasn't one-person screenplay.
No, I thought it was like three. Honestly, I thought it was both directors and one other writer. I thought.
We'd have to check the credits again. I thought it said screenplay by, and because we were like, it brushed by really quickly, but I thought it was one person.
Made the story was by three people. I don't know. I know the two directors and one other person either worked on the story or the screenplay.
And overall, it's actually a pretty strong screenplay, which is why it surprised me that the ending really kind of like...
But, yeah, I mean, it's a momentary sort of, I wish it could have been better, to get to a really good, strong point, and the first two-thirds, I think, are still really good and really strong, so...
Well, the dynamic between the characters is really strong, and the one thing I forgot to mention about the snowman earlier... They also dodged a bullet by making him a childhood creation.
Yeah, that's true. There's no other reason to create him.
Because it was something that went back to their childhood and that memory, I actually was giving it a pass as, it's like a childhood memory. I'll give him a pass because he's kind of goofy and... Well played, Disney.
Well, it's same thing with the reindeer. It's like, why couldn't the gargoyles be in Quasimodo's imagination? Here, the reindeer, the talking, is in his imagination.
Yeah.
So
and the way he talks to that reindeer was a brilliant...
I wanted more, honestly. When he was debating whether or not to go back, I wish he was doing the voice as well, so you can make that funnier.
Yeah, and make that the argument that he convinced himself instead of just the reindeer.
Yeah,
like the reindeer gave him the push.
Like, that could have been stronger, but... it's...
Yeah.
Even then, I'd say that's more typical movie cliche than, like, Disney cliche, like I said. Just
the bad guy, though, was Disney cliche, and that really took me out of it.
I don't know, have you seen any Vince Vaughn movies and Owen Wilson movies? You've seen that bad guy there, too.
Okay, let me finish. Yeah, but Disney milks that. And it was, let me this way, for something that is trying to capture the spirit of Disney and trying not to just be the same old Disney film, that was a major misstep.
Yeah, but
the rest of it is really good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. That was the one thing that stuck out to me because it's like, that is old school Disney in a bad way. Like, you were getting so much old school Disney in a good way that to bring that sort of character back, and particularly the flipping on a dime didn't bother me as much. It's just like, really, you're going to flip on a dime and become this cliched of a character?
Yeah, I mean, because it's kind of a decent twist, honestly, you know, when he's, you know, he does the, oh, somebody needs to love you. It's sort of like, ooh, like, you know, ooh, what a nice, didn't see it coming.
It actually caught me by surprise just because I thought where they were going was they were going to give him to the older
Snow
sister.
Queen, yeah.
And they were going to be married.
And isn't that nice, too? They don't, honestly, the
which
focus...
I preferred that. So it's just the way they got there is in that last third.
Yeah, and the focus is not as much, you know, particularly with the Snow Queen. I mean, there's never an emphasis to her, you need to marry someone, which, okay, not just being, you know, a princess in that time period, going into a queenhood, but, yeah, being a political figure. You'd think there'd be like, you know, it's, oh, well, you need to marry, and it's just not there, and it's just nice and refreshing.
Well, and it makes sense, because she's had no human contact. How would she even know?
Well, and that's why it makes sense
even.
Yeah, and that's why it makes sense for the other one, too, to go and, you know, just be in love with whoever she sees for the first time.
But the other one at least has been in the palace. I really get the impression the older sister was completely sequestered, whereas the other one got to play and run around the palace and has had much more human contact. You know, at least that's the way they were setting up the personality. So they did the same thing in Wreck-It Ralph, which I liked. When you find out, you know, spoilers for Wreck-It Ralph, the Glitch is like a princessy character, and she's like, yeah, but that's not me. We're not going there. And I was like, thank you. Like, you know, it's the opposite of what Disney does, where, you know, a lot of times it's like, let's create an interesting character, but at the end, I gotta get married. That's what bothered me about Princess and the Frog. I'm like, here's a great character, and at the end it's like, oh, you just did the same damn thing again.
Well, she didn't get married, though.
They're going to. Come on.
They're
Read the writing on the wall.
Oh, come on. Like, the other two in this aren't gonna get married, though?
What, the younger sister? And
Yeah,
but she was an idiot. They were setting that up from the beginning. She's the ditz of the group. I'm talking about the older, smarter one.
Okay.
You should know.
But nice. At least I'm the humble one. But there's still, you got a couple there that's gonna get married, though. I mean, still.
Fine, but at least we've got two couples and only one has to...
And one is not evil or bad for, like, not wanting a man or not getting a married. So it's like just not even. It's just not even a thing. I just like, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
No. It. Oh, thank God.
Yeah. So just some real nice stepping stones in a good, entertaining movie with good songs, good animation. Just good. Go see it.
By the way, I just want to bring one thing up. You're talking to me about being humble. Whose face is plastered all over the website and a little Looney Tunes logo? Yeah, that's what I thought. Humble. I'll show you humble!